Good evening, everyone. What is happening, peeps? How are we on this Thursday evening? A little chilly here again today, but tomorrow weather's supposed to pick up and start being more, I don't know, spring. We're in Pennsylvania, so you can get anything. It could snow, it could be 80. Uh, People might have winter coats and shorts on at the same time, but that is where we live. So, anyways, tonight we're going to talk a little Delphi versus Flora. We're going to keep this till right about 8 o'clock, so it'll be a little bit short. But I did post a link if anyone has any thoughts or opinions or on anything I say. Love to hear from you tonight. Got a lot going on tonight. Frank's going at 8. NFL draft starting at 8. So I'll be seeing where my Steelers, where they want to go tonight. I've heard 100 different things. I mean, so you don't know too. It's kind of like the case, any case. You don't know till you get to court what everything is true. So we'll see tonight with all that. But without further ado, let's say hi to everybody and let's get into it. I have some things I'd like to show you. And I'll render my opinion for whatever that's worth on these two. Are they linked? Are they not linked? And I feel strongly about it, and I'll tell you why. So, as my old basketball coach Pacelli used to say, I'll tell you why. Jinx, as always, like, subscribe, share, like the video if I do a good job here. What is up, Lisa? Cindy, how are you, Cindy? Frosty is playing Gilligan the next couple weeks or a week or so. Yeah, and so I'm not here to accost people if they think Richard Allen's innocent and these two things could be tied or something. I'm just going to give you my opinion on it. But yeah, I do think I'm probably close to 95% now with Richard Allen. The more that comes out and the moves that are being made by his attorneys, as I'm learning the legal things and what they're doing, there's the legal system and then there's the attorneys, the kind of games that they play. So it's very interesting. It's like a game of chess. Brandon, how are you? Jill, good to see you, Jill. Here's the link if anybody would like to come up at any point during the show. Again, I'm going to try to keep us to right about an hour. Encourage everyone to go jump on with Frank after that. He sent me the link. I haven't got a chance to talk to him today. I'm not even sure what it's about. Sure, it's about what's maybe sifting through some of these rulings and things like that. But I'll be tuned into him and watching when the Steelers pick for sure. Carol, how are you? Decent weather coming, Carol, the weekend. We're, I think, 82 Sunday. My girlfriend Brooke, we have plans to go do something down in the Sass side, as we say here. They have like an arcade type thing with a big giant Jenga and foosball. It's like an outdoor thing. So, what is up, 63 Clocks? How are you? Great to see you, as always. Boom, 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 boom. Tattoo you, good to see you. How are you? What's up, Miranda? Hi, Christine. Otto, good to see you, Otto. Got to meet Otto at the walk. Very cool person. Cares about the girls. Truth and Justice, how are you? Lala, I hope I say that right. I don't know if you ever corrected me on that or not. Tech Death, how are you doing? Tech Death. Tech Death also does a bunch of stuff. Intros, outros. Grismatically Clever is another person. He does mine, but Tech Death does some really cool stuff. I think you did Kristen's, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool guitar type deal. Yep. I think I'm east of you, Carol. So maybe you'll get our weather here. But again, it's coming. It is coming. Delphi Dummies, how are you? Putting some great content out lately. CJK, I'm sure will be interested in the draft tonight. Looking for her Chiefs. See what they're going to do. The Chiefs shouldn't be able to draft anybody in the first 2 rounds. Like, you have enough. You're too good. So, anyways, let's start talking about Flora and Delphi. Happened very close together. Girls, some of the girls were the same ages. Some of them were a lot younger, but it's minor girls. I drove, so I could tell you the road between Delphi and Flora. It was still about 5:45 in the morning. I got up. I couldn't sleep. I wanted to go myself. So that Saturday morning I went and I drove into Flora from Lafayette. And then coming back, I drove what I think is the road that everyone talks about, the Crooked Road. Let me tell you something. In Indiana, you want to see some crooked roads, you need to come to Pennsylvania. I mean, it's a little bit, but like when I'm thinking crooked road, I'm thinking we got these crazy S-bends going up mountains and every goddamn other thing. But if I'm not mistaken, I think it was probably in the neighborhood of 10 minutes, maybe less than 10, maybe 9 or 8 minutes. So that's very close for these things to happen. Okay. And one was obviously different modus operandi, if you will. The big thing that I keep coming back to is this, in my opinion, and I go back to the Doug Carter second press conference. Jim Clemente, FBI profiler, you know, I fanboy over him. I think he's like the greatest thing since Pants with Pockets. He's John Douglas 2.0. He states in that, and it's episode 123, Best Case, Worst Case podcast. I encourage you to listen to it. Former FBI people, prosecutors. Clemente was both, but it's really good. They talk about different cases, really in depth. He done great work on Lisk. His profile was almost dead on to Rex Heuermann. If you ever want to look at that and go back and Google Jim Clemente Lisk profile, which he put out about 10 years ago. So these guys are fantastic, guys and gals. They're not always right, but anyways, Clemente says he knows. He doesn't say how he knows, but he still talks to people in the FBI. He knows that was totally scripted by the BAU. Power, 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 power. It's about power to you. It's about power to you. So what kind, you're looking at a sexual sadistic killer. That's what they're into, the power. Sadist, inflicting and seeing pain inflicted and watching pain inflicted. A visualizer, visual, you know, very big into visuals. I don't know about the tripod marks or the pictures, or this was something that looks like you'd want to take a picture of. I mean, these things were all said by law enforcement or put in documents. So there's something there to that, right? I don't know that. The tripod. I don't get the tripod. Could it have been something else? I don't know. But hopefully that gets explained, okay? But I see sexual sadistic in matter of killing. I see less than 1% staging. If you go by what the FBI says, that the scene was staged. They weren't posed. They were staged. Staging is to deceive. Posing is something to get the killer off. A signature that they need. Signatures aren't necessary to commit the crime. Modus operandi is. You go back to what Robert Ives said, and I can't find it on the internet, but I do believe roughly 10 people that I've talked to that would swear on a stack of Bibles that they heard it. And that's good enough for me. Non-secular, which is a weird word to use because it kind of means like not religious, but it makes it interesting, right? So you really got to look at that. Then I see Flora. It was not a sexual motivated crime, Flora. I think that most people could agree on that, because that's not what people do. Early in their lives, series killers, they let power. Fire is power, but it's a power in a different way. It's not a sexually derived power when you get to the point of committing your crimes. When you do it as a young person, look at, goodness gracious, I almost forgot his name. Look at Son of Sam, David Berkowitz. David Berkowitz lit thousands, he said, of nuisance fires in New York City. When the fire department would show up, he'd lay in the bushes nearby and pleasure himself and get off. So it's sexual, but it's a power thing. It's very, very weird and very bizarre. But what I see with Flora, and I'm gonna lay out the case for that, it's not just one thing, okay? It's not just one thing. There's an element to me of revenge, an absolute element of revenge, and a possibly like a jaded, jilted lover. But there is a racist component to this case, without question. And I can tell you, only thing I can tell you is this, that it is being investigated thoroughly at very high levels. I promise you that. I will not lie to you about that. So the noise that's being made, and we're not making as much as we used to make, the noise that's being made matters. It matters. Because after Delphi, whatever happens, if Richard Allen walks, then that's it. There's no double jeopardy. If he's convicted, you know, there'll be appeals, but there'll be a little bit of a lull, and people will be looking for something to do. Let's dive into Flora, right? Everyone that has a normal brain, not the nut jobs, not the wing nuts, not the Springer channels, not the people whose channels spend time talking about other creators than cases. But the people that maybe disagree on Delphi will say with Flora, okay, what do we need to do? How do we get this as public as we did Delphi? How do we get them to make a documentary about Flora, right? You don't gauge anyone's pain or what they went through, right? One isn't worse than the other. They're both equally horrible that young people lose their lives at all, and especially like this, and in small communities that are so close together, right? If you're not from Indiana, it's really cool. You drive, there's fields, and there's a little like, there's a little town, cool little town. And as you're driving down the road, 30 seconds later, you're out of that town. You're down Main Street, fields, a little town, right? So in the big city, these things happen a lot. But think about two communities rocked months apart, right? It's hard not to think that they're linked in a certain way because you have young people losing their lives, young females. The modes of death are couldn't be more far apart. It doesn't mean that same person isn't doing the same thing. One of the things I'll point out is if people changed at their means of doing things, like I was a fire starter, now I'm going to do this by knife. Usually that takes a long time. It's not 2 or 3 months. They go from doing one thing to the other. But what I see from some people that want to link the two, they're going down a Vinlander route with the Delphi case, which is their opinion, if they think it's a sacrifice or whatever. So I don't think it is, because white supremacists don't sacrifice white people. They just don't. No matter what they do, they don't. They don't do that. They really never have done that. You know, I can't find really a situation where they have. They might go beat people up, do something to your house, your car, you date out of your race, and we're troglodytes and we don't understand that. And that happens. But so they're going to go from, if they're same people, they're going to go from killing black girls to white girls in a matter of months. You have to link that together somehow. And I don't see any way to link that together. I've looked deep into this link in this because I think it would help me with Flora if I knew more. And if I had something that I could link with Delphi, man, think how much attention Flora would get. But I'm not going to manufacture it. And there's racist people in Indiana, sure, maybe more than other states. I don't know the statistics. Is hate crimes on the rise? Absolutely, they are. Especially against Asian people. That's the biggest jump that we saw in the last couple of years. It's still more against black people than anybody else. They've risen at a lesser rate, but they're still head and shoulders above everyone else. They get the brunt of it any way, shape, or form. But when you start looking at things like this, and if this is a hate crimes, and like John Douglas has said this, you know, they want to hang you in the middle of the town square, and they want people to know that the Klan did this, or these people did this, or these white supremacists did this. They want to make a statement. They're not going to hide. They're not going to do a fire like this where something was set in that back room or thrown in the back room or whatever began to start that fire. And there's no signature of them being there. There's no like, oh, we showed you. There was no word on the street. We don't want black people in our town, so we did this. So I don't see it. Did those girls in Galen encounter racism every day, every single day? I'm sure that they did. Every single day. Every single day. Racism came into effect, in my opinion, after the event happened, where they just said, hey, you know, we know now that some of the people that started the rumors were actually firemen, not necessarily from Delphi. So we know who the person was. One of the person was to talk to journalist Chris Todd about it. And it's weird because he has a tie to the Delphi case, but I think that the area is just so small. The coverage overlaps. This is what happens. So Robert Ives, let's talk about him very briefly. Some people like, you know, I've talked to Ruckus about him. He's like, man, he shouldn't have given it up. You know, you should fight the fight, you know, old school Ruckus. I feel the same way. Don't give it up. But at least Robert Ives did one good thing. And that one good thing is he says, we can't handle this. It's got to go to the state police. Unfortunately, from the Department of Homeland Security, you got Dennis Randall. I'm just going to go over Flora real quick, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things and start comparing. So Dennis Randall initially comes in. He says that there's accelerants everywhere. Accelerants all over the place, multiple hits for accelerants, liquid accelerants. Doesn't always have to be gasoline or diesel. It could be a lot of different things that are used, tricky things that are hard to detect, right? He puts this press release out on a Saturday morning. He was begged by other people, don't put this out yet. We don't know. He puts it out on a Saturday morning against the wishes of many other investigators. The report was so flawed and said to be used without science And in a world of arson investigation, when you say someone doesn't use science to come up with their conclusion, you're literally saying that they are full of shit. It's absolute fighting words in the world of criminal investigation or criminal arson investigation. They didn't use science. Mike Vergone, many other people came out and said, no, there was one spot in the back. Randall mysteriously resigns. His son was the fire chief at the incident. Young Randall, oh, goodness gracious, Dennis, and oh my God, I'm having a brain fart. Adam Randall. And then he resigns too. So you have two people resign. The lead investigator, the initial lead investigator, and the fire chief. During interviews, people from the fire department were in on police interviews. I've never heard of that here in Pennsylvania, but I don't know if that's something that happens. Very bizarre. We've seen the interviews. We have the interviews. I can send them to anybody that wants them. And there's people that lie in those interviews, and they lie. All you got to do is read it, and they're not called on their lies. And there's people that are on the other side of the Delphi case that I know have the same suspect as I do, and I'm not going to say their name here. But how can this be revenge and racism at the same time? That's a very twisted and convoluted thing. Knowing who we know was at Galen's house that night, if there was a jilted ex-lover, say, and he had an issue and he said some funny things and sent some weird text messages, I don't want to say a lot more because anyone that knows this case will know who I'm talking about. And I don't have proof of it. And I'm not going to say anyone's name because I don't want to, if I'm wrong, I certainly could be wrong. But a relationship that Galen was having with someone else, and the color of their skin might have triggered this guy who from jilted lover to racist loon type thing. I hate to be real secretive and Masonic. We just toured a Masonic building in McKeesport, if you will. But anyways, that's just my 2 cent things. So I do not think that these things are involved at all. I'm pretty sure that the people, in my opinion, that did Delphi and Flora don't even know each other, have never met, and they're very different, a huge difference in age, right? So they're not going to be people. And I don't think the other guy who may be involved with Flora, who I think is definitely involved with Flora, in my opinion, I think he had help after covering it up with other people. But similar to the Richard Allen thing, I still say that he had help from other people to hide what he did, going back, whatever the case was. Some other people helped him get away with the crime and maybe set up the crime, and whether they knew they were doing it or not, whether they knew Richard Allen or not. But I'm going to hit some questions real quick. I'm going to show you what I have to show you. I have a couple arson things and just a couple, from the psychological thing, because you guys know how much I love that. And what we can learn from the crime scene if you kind of reverse engineer it and go back. And that kind of tells you what kind of person that you're looking for. Not going to have physical evidence or DNA in a profile saying, oh, it's Joe Schmo from Lemon Street over there. It's going to describe someone like Joe Schmo, but it's not, the police still have to do the police work. So we got a lot of questions, which is awesome. I'm going to hit as many as I can here. Junior's just listening, coming out of Michigan. Yeah, we got some hills. Yeah, Miranda, big ones. All right, let me get to some of this. Everybody's saying hi to each other. Lots of good chat. As always in my chat, it's one of the things I brag about to people. I don't have the biggest chat, but in my opinion, I think I have the coolest chat. I don't want to knock anyone else's because I enjoy a lot of people's chats. I like Frank's chat. I like Ruckus's chat. It's a little more rowdy. A lot of people have good ones. Coach only. Flora from Delphi coverage as a fireman. I nominated you start again. Yeah, well, I could do a show like that. That's a good idea, Cindy. Maybe coming up, just with everything that's going on with Delphi, it's hard to intersect some. So my thing tonight was hopefully we could get attention, but if I bring Delphi and Flora together, people at least see Delphi. Because anytime any creator puts anything Delphi, you're probably going to get the most views you're going to get. And but I could see doing that again. We had a Flora week for Mother's Day last year. I know that Galen appreciates it. I know that, Aunt Jack, they all do. But they're taking a step back. They've been for just reason. They feel they've been burned a little bit, so they're doing what they're doing. But it's being investigated. I promise you that, guys. It is. I wouldn't BS you on that. I've been critical of fire department action. I've been critical of other things and police actions, and especially in this case, I have been very critical. So if I'm telling you, I think that that's my opinion. I think it's going right. Well, good, Jill. Like I said, I didn't realize till after we left that something had happened to you. I thought you guys were just hanging out there because we walked past. Yeah, the Delphi, absolutely. The Delphi, in my opinion, he's a visionary. He practiced this in his head, and I think it's Richard Allen. But even if it's not, whoever did that, 100%, I think that. Minnesota. Oh, Squirrel Hill. From Squirrel Hill to Minnesota. I guess the winter's probably a little bit worse there, but I don't know how much different it's going to be. Squirrel Hill is a happening place. What is up, Rescue All the Dogs? How are you? How many before it started and ended? Well, actually, for the if you look at the times of it, it's pretty quick from the time that they got there to the time they got it under control. So it took them about roughly 10 minutes to get on scene, and I think they're calling it under control. I think it was around 20 to 30 minutes, and that's not a terrible. If you get something in 5 minutes, it's a small fire. It's one room, but once you get like a whole floor off like that, the initial time, 20 to 30 minutes, isn't that bad. Especially not knocking volunteer departments, but for a volunteer department that maybe doesn't see as many fires as a bigger city would, that is not bad at all. But that also speaks to that the fire wasn't as bad. And the place wasn't full of accelerants because the whole place would have went up in flames if it was full of accelerants. It doesn't have to touch it. The gas is off gas of gasoline, whatever liquid accelerant that they want to use. Some people say could something have been thrown in through the back window into that mudroom and kind of rolled across the floor. Someone brought that up to me actually at the Delphi walk. And I said, well, yeah, that is possible, but they would have found that device, whatever that was. Even if it was a glass bottle that broke, they would have been able to find that spot. That spot would have burned hotter than shit when it hit the ground and let off. And you would still find glass. You're not talking about a volcano leaves glass. Nuclear meltdowns leave glass. So fires aren't going to totally do away with glass. They'll be there, and you'll see that on the floor. And you'll see kind of like a big circle around it, almost like a bomb went off when that thing blew, and it lit that part super hot. I don't know, people's fireworks, cigarettes. It's ruled a homicide. It's ruled the girls' deaths are ruled homicide by the Indiana State Police. So what do they know that we don't know? Hopefully one day we'll find out. Not to get all Doug Carter-esque on you. Absolutely. Yeah, well, again, you could look at it the other way, Lisa, too, that some people would argue that they were trying to scare them out of there. Now, I don't take into that theory myself, but that could be right, where they just wanted, hey, we're going to do this to scare you, and this fire got out of hand. So that's the argument that's used against it. But I go a different direction on it. But I don't know. I think the person that did it was so mad and so would be heartbroken or upset. Under the influence of multiple things. He just did something that night. And he's done stuff before and since. Nothing like that, but that's a good point, though, Lisa. It's extremely heartbreaking, extremely heartbreaking. We don't want Florida to turn into Delphi. You're right, but there's a lot of good people. I think there's a lot of good people that think Richard Allen is innocent. And they're good people. Why do we just disagree on that? But they're not over the edge. There's always people in the middle, even in politics. And I hate to talk about politics because I don't really like anyone in there anymore. But you have the people on the way right and the way left. They're like nuts. And then the people in the middle are like, yeah. Well, we could get down on this 10 things we agree on, 2 things we disagree on. So, but yeah, but we don't want it to come into a circus. But I think now more and more YouTube, these are all going to be circuses, all these cases. I don't know if Idaho's a circus because I'm not really on that case. So I heard Flora on mainstream news. Very sad, unimaginable. Just unfortunate. Yeah. And there's so much, like, for everything that's being alleged in Delphi. And you know what? Let's be totally honest. They might get to court and prove that all these people lied, that all this was a 50-person conspiracy. And if they do, I'll come back on here and tell you that, hey, I got that one pretty wrong. But a lot of what they're alleging is going on in Delphi is going on here. They're paying 35 grand to lawyers for fire chiefs. They won't release the 911 call. I don't want to make this all about Flora, but for those of you that don't know, these are all crazy things. And I can't really find another case. Don't put 911 calls out and no edit them, right? You FOIA it. With Pennsylvania, it's called the Right to Know Act, but they're on a federal communication. So that's a FOIA. That's a federal agency that governs that. They have to give it to you. Their even state guy who handles them kind of lawsuits said, yeah, you better give it up. First court said give it up. Second court said, no, you don't have to give it up. And I haven't heard it going from anywhere else after that. So, yeah, unfortunately, Lisa, I don't know what the rules are there. We have a stricter building code than Flora, Indiana does here in McKeesport, but they are allowed to do that. And usually it kills firefighters, not tenants, because the tenants are in there. But I've been in fires where you go up sets of steps and they just end. Like they just blocked it off at the top and just left the steps there. And then you look at your partner like, oh, okay, let plan B it is. Different void spaces and plenum spaces. And this is what helped the fire travel. So when you put these walls up together, there's usually always void spaces, or we call plenum spaces. And it's just an open space. Well, the fire gets through the cracks of the floor and everywhere else, and it gets up in there. And that's a way for it to travel. It's almost like a chimney. Where I live, we have my house is, and most houses here are called balloon frame construction. And in a balloon frame construction, this is the floor, this is the outer wall, right? But the floor doesn't go all the way to the outer wall. It stops just short, and there's another wall. So you have a fire in the basement that will break out the attic window. It'll bypass the first and second floor. You'll see paint bubbling and stuff on the wall, but it'll bypass the first and second floor, and it'll be shooting out the window. So you'll get there and think, oh, shit, we got a fire in the attic. But through experience, we always have someone check the basement, because someone opened the basement door like, hold on a second. And we don't want to get above the fire. That's the most dangerous, right? So we go up there and we totally, don't look at the basement. Boom, it's on the first floor. Now we get to the second floor, try to come down. Oh, we got fire above us and below us. Get me a window and a ladder, because it's time to go. But these are things to think about. But you're right, Lisa. I don't know if you have anyone in the fire service, but that is that's a good comment. Yeah, a lot of people do it early in life. It's part of the McDonald or the homicidal triad. What's up, Miss P? This account, how are you doing? Yeah, if you watch a fire, there's a lot of that. And again, I'm not knocking volunteer people, but most of the fire departments around here are volunteer. So you call that yard breathing. And there's paid guys that do it too, but usually you can't hide if you're a paid guy, because there isn't enough people, because they don't, generally implore enough firemen for us that we think we should have more. So you might have 5 guys, so you don't have time. But if they have their mask on, they're outside their yard breathing. But it's not uncommon. And in volunteer departments, you might have 5 or 6 guys that are members of the department. Maybe they drive the truck. They can help, but they're not physically able to help, but they can still, give some knowledge or something like that. So you're more apt to see that there, and especially in a smaller department. What's up, Olivia? If those guards were Odinist, that much of a danger. Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, if they were Odinist and he were to get killed, I mean, you'd have to look at his attorneys who leaked all that out of there, right? Because we know about it. But I don't think that's what happened there. But that's my 2 cents. I mean, the guy, this 5 isn't really about whether he's guilty or not. But I mean, he's confessed to everyone except Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Maybe he can. Maybe he wrote them letters. I don't know. Yeah. Rescue all the dogs on point again. Kiana, Kiera, Cariel, Kiani. Names are on her car. She has a very nice display on her car. I got my shirt on tonight. In the archives, Frosty, Jinx, Randy Gravitt. Randy, I don't know if you're watching or listening tonight, but love you, brother. Don't let anyone get you down, man. Keep talking about the case. Everyone else will eat themselves. Evansdale, yeah, Ruckus and Steve working on that. Oh, that would be interesting, this account. I don't know. Yeah. Well, you know what, too? I think since then, remember this, too? They were fighting over ordinances and stuff like that prior to this in Flora about renters and what they need to do. And, you know, the minimum of the minimum. And in Indiana at the time, they were in charge of the maintenance of the smoke detectors. In Pennsylvania, you're not. The landlord's supposed to put smoke detectors up. And if it's a multi-unit apartment, you don't worry about batteries because they have to be interwired or interconnected, meaning if there's 4-unit apartment, a smoke detector goes off in one apartment, every smoke detector in the rest of the apartment goes off. They don't even have to use wires anymore. They have Wi-Fi. You can put smoke detectors up on Wi-Fi and it'll go throughout your house. So if your smoke detector goes off in your kitchen, it'll go off in your bedroom too, even though there's not an issue up there. But if there's a fire in the kitchen, I'd like to know as soon as possible if I'm up in the bedroom. But it's we see a lot. Again, I'm in an inner city. We see a lot of shitty landlords, and we put smoke detectors up for the Red Cross in rental apartments, and it's not our obligation. But at the end of the day, those residents have smoke detectors. And then we remember the name of the landlord, and when he comes back later and says, "Oh, can you look the other way on this?" Fuck off. Is our answer no. Give them people a decent place to live. They're paying you enough money. I wonder if the person intended to burn it with 4 children, or well, there was this account. There was a story early on, and the girls were away. I don't know if it was a basketball or cheerleading competition. They were very active. They got back that night. There was some talk early on. I don't know if Kathy's in the chat or not. There was some talk early on that they came back a night early or came back a little earlier. I have not been able to confirm that for sure. But they had school the next day. So maybe they did come back Saturday instead of Sunday. I don't know. But the fire happened and they were going to go to school the next day. In 107 minutes. Well, this could have been really fast. This could have been walking past, throw it in there. Thank you, Jinx. Thank you for the shirt too. Any I could answer, Miranda, I definitely will, or anyone's questions on this. Delphi, I hope it does. I really do. I hope it does. Yeah, that's very odd to me too. And I always want to know, hopefully we'll get a resolution to this case. What did he mean by that? Did he really mean that? Or was that one of them cop things that they put out to try to get someone in? Like, explain this. We know you didn't try to do this, but explain how this happened to us. And maybe if that person hears that and says, well, they know I didn't try to do it, or they think I didn't try to do it, whether he tried or not, maybe that was like, hey, come on in and let's talk about this and let's get this. I'm sure they did that to Richard Allen. You could tell Vito was going down there, or I'm sorry, Holman was going down that route. Hey, man, things happen. Like, let's get in front of this story. You could kind of control the narrative, explain what happened, how this got out of control, and you're not just a cold-blooded psychopath. And they do that with everybody. So I don't know. That is definitely an interesting thing for sure. Hey, Ruckus, what is up? Ruckus in LA, we're on last night. I got to comment early, but I was doing other shit. Union stuff came up, grievances and whatnot. So everyone's kind of mad at me today in the city, but we'll be okay. But they had a really good show last night. I love LA's take on the Delphi case because he's outside looking in, and he just keeps it real. Like, they're just some crazy motherfuckers, man. Like that, like that's what a lot of people think. I think, but I think the building codes need to be updated. Oh, they absolutely should, and they should be held legally responsible too. They are, but there's ways to get around things and stuff like that. But they are held to a standard. But unfortunately, Lisa, most of the people that I deal with, unfortunately, the landlords, there are good ones, but most of them, they just, Like they don't give a fuck. They just don't. An inside joke for anyone that knows. Everybody's saying, what's up to Ruckus? All right, let me show you a couple things here that I'd like to show you. And again, we're going to get out of here right in an hour. I encourage you to check out the Frank Meister's channel and follow your favorite team in the NFL draft. I mean, Ruckus, if your Patriots end up getting possibly J.J. McCarthy from the University of Michigan, he's a winner. I know they were saying that they were interested in it. In the guy, but we'll see what happens tonight. Okay, sexual sadism. A little good explanation for you. I'm going to bring this up. Share this tab instead. I'm not going to read it all to you, but this is from Psychology Today, and this is, in my opinion, this is what Delphi was. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you, in my opinion, what it was, and I don't have all the evidence. I really don't. Other people have more evidence than I do. I'm not a guy that has seen the crime scene photos. And again, seeing 2 or 3 photos is not going to help anybody make a distinction on anything, in my opinion. Not 2 or 3 out of 1,000 taken. So some of this is about series or serial killers too. Let me get up to the point. Yeah. So what they say here, the guy that wrote a big paper, M.J. McCulloch, I think it's how it's pronounced, the sexually sadistic thoughts of, you see that word, bondage, I guess you probably see that word, torture and murder began around 16 years of age. And they're linking pain and sex together. They're linking violence and sex together. That's the story with all these people that do any kind of sexual sadistic anything, whether they're Gary Ridgway, whether they're a one-off person, right? But what is it that sets that off, and what is it that they actually get out of the crime itself? And they give you the average thing, and it's like the cookie cutter. This is for series killers here, under 30, white males, blah, blah, blah. But here's where the power comes in at, and when you keep hearing power, power, power. So this type of killer, and it doesn't have to be a series. It could be a one-off sexually sadistic killer, which I don't know, Alan. I don't know if he's had anything in the past, but I would not be surprised by it. Can you start budding as being a budding serial killer at age, what would he have been, 47 or 43 at the time? Whatever age he was. Yeah, it happens. It does happen. People that say it doesn't isn't true, but you don't wake up and do that. You've had these thoughts. You've had these feelings. Maybe you've acted on it. Maybe you've looked and peeped and tomed in some neighbors' houses. You've done some precursory crimes leading up to it. You might not have killed anyone yet, but you've done something. You don't get up one day and just, do that unless you have some kind of massive head injury or something like that. There's people that have been in car wrecks that have been fined and then kill people later. But anyways, here we go. He thrives on power and control, and in essence acts like a god as he decides what will happen next to the victim, including the victim lives or dies. The sexually sadistic killer views his victims not as human, but as objects for his enjoyment, has no consideration for his actions or results of his brutality of this victim. Okay. So they're coming from power, 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 power. This is the kind of killer that seeks that power. Well, you would say to me, what about the undoing? In my opinion, I've told you there was undoing because you saw that Abby was redressed. Liberty was left the way she was left, and Abby was redressed. And I think that was undoing. So what happened there? Why did he do this? Well, again, you go back to that press conference, and I think the profile that the FBI put out was probably pretty dead on. We know that you feel some if you have anything left in you, or any good left in you, or whatever the quote was, the little bit of good. I think he even made they think the guy's a visualizer, right? So he even made this a little bit of good left in you. I take that and I put that to the way Abby was left. And then the other comment, he contradicts you. He's like, the way you left them was not the way that they're going to be found. That covered the liberty aspect, in my opinion, based off of profiler Jim Clemente, right? Now, if I may, let me show you the next thing I'd like to show you. That is not it. And we're going to talk a little bit about arson and arson behaviors. Then I'm going to get back in and answer everybody's questions. or whatever comments, whatever you guys have. So behavior classifications of arson. This is a pretty good article. It kind of gets in depth. So if you're going to ask me, and it's a very good question, I don't know if anyone asked it yet, but could somebody be in category 1, sexually sadistic, and be an arsonist? Absolutely, they could be. They could do their crime, a sexual sadistic crime, and then that's their MO for doing that. And then they could light the house on fire to cover it up, which would also be MO, not signature, right? Because that's the commission of the crime, and that's what they do at everything to try to cover up that crime and get away with that crime. So I hope that makes understands for you. They kind of define arson. This is the same definition for killers. Serial arsonist, 3 or more fires. I'm not going to read it off here. With time and distance, different locations, and a cooling off period in between. A spree person is a guy or girl that goes on the run and goes shooting people, like at a shopping center or something like that. Columbine High School, multiple people moving around. It could be the same. I don't know if they have this definition, the same location or different locations. Such 3 or more fire, different locations. Yeah. And then you have the mass arsonist. And I've seen all 3 of these at work multiple times. Actually, I've seen the mass arsonist one time. He set 3 different houses on fire, but it was the same neighborhood. So I would call him. No, actually, I take that back. I've seen spree and mass. I've seen people like 2 or 3 houses on fire right next to each other. Then we had a kid in Lower 10th Ward that lit 3 buildings on fire the same night. He'd literally walk down a block, light a house on fire. So you're fighting this fire and you look over like, what the hell is going over there? Well, the engine's going over there. Well, who's coming here with us on the ladder? Not just me and you for a while. And we're on a garage fire. My buddy Chris. I'm like, okay, the John Wayne time. And you make all the macho comments, but you're ass puckers when you're told to know what's coming for a while. We weren't inside there. We were from the outside. Okay, vandalism. The goal to destroy property, typically driven by mischief or malice. They light people's garbage cans on fire, or the kids are out pissing around in the summer. They light a dumpster on fire. It could turn into something bad, but initially that's their reasoning for doing it. And it happens with abandoned houses too. And they might not realize what they're doing. And if a fireman gets hurt or something, they could get charged. But excitement, when the goal is to gain attention or seek a rush. Thrill, sometimes related to sexual arousal and gratification, but not always. So this excitement and vandalism, know the difference. This is where the people are getting sick. They're getting a rush off this. They're getting some kind of sexual gratification off of this fire and off of this power. But they're not having people in the house. It's the fire themselves. They're not killing people because that brings attention. Same as professional arsonists. Their rush comes from the fire, not from anyone inside. Just the actual burning of the fire, right? And there's somebody, and I've talked to Kathy about him, who is very proud that he's a pyromaniac on Facebook, and he's friends with other people, and we'll just leave that out there without saying anyone's name. But haven't ruled him out, but what have you? What are you going to say? Revenge. The goal is to get retribution for a real and imagined offense perpetrated by an individual. Personal revenge, societal revenge, or an established organization, institutional revenge, or a membership group revenge. This to me is personal revenge. It's my opinion that there is racism cloaked around it, though. It'd be okay if it was this type of person, but this type of person was there, so there's an issue with it. And I really don't want to go any further than that. But, what we're not seeing, no crime concealment there, right? There wasn't crime concealment there. No one in the house was, killed before the fire or anything like that. There was no, they're not covering up for a drug operation. There's no, meth laboratory. There's no cocaine processing. There's none of that going on. You could see that from the pictures. And one of the telltale signs that you can tell it's not a meth fire is when you look at the house, the windows are still in it. It blows. It always blows. The color, the smoke. There are many, many different things. And so profit, these are professionals when the goal is to make money. In all the arson fires that I've seen, they're for profit, whether we're able to prove or not. Nobody, and I mean no one, is ever home. A professional arsonist that's good at this job is going to make sure people aren't home, right? And if people were kind of hanging out in that house and lights were on relatively late, midnight or so, they're going to leave. They know if someone's in a house at midnight, someone's going to sleep there. I'm not going to come back another day. I'm going to do this another day. Extremism, when the goal is to promote being aware, promote or bring awareness, specific cause or ideology, viewpoint. Extremism is where you would, in my opinion, would count the racism thing, not for revenge, your societal revenge. Yeah, you could kind of look at that, societal revenge. But usually when you do that, it's not like, well, a black person did this to me, so I'm going to go firebomb a black church. That's extremism. If you would say that, a black person did this to me, so I'm going to go light the basketball court on fire that I watch a lot of black people play at, or I'm going to go burn out a black business, that's still personal. You know what I mean? It's as an extremist. You're burning people because of their color of their skin. That's extremism. So in order for Delphi to be related, it would have to be, I think, an extremism. So you had racist Vinlanders, or whatever you want to call them, because they're not really saying Odinists anymore, which is interesting. And they killed black girls with fire, and a few months later, they killed white girls with knives, and they staged the scene. So I don't see it. Not to say that you can't. Let me get back here. Not to say that you can't have someone that kills people in different ways, but you have to. They're trying to jam a round peg in a square hole here, and it's not the case. And again, I'm willing to bet a large amount of money, if anyone want to take me up for a charity donation, that if they do make a charge in the Delphi case, that he does not know Richard Allen, and if Richard Allen is not the guy that did it, that he does not know the person that they're going to name, or whatever information is going to come out, because I just don't see it. I don't see it at all, and that's kind of my case for it. And I mean, there's more things. I'm not going to stand here for hours and grandstand, but just look at it that way. To me, that's kind of like the easiest thing, the easiest way to shoo this away. And I've been back and forth up to probably late last year. I was kind of on the fence. And when the Westfall stuff came, because he did lie about something in that interview with Sleuth. He did. He lied. But it doesn't mean he's a killer, So I think people kind of took that and went. When I got a lot of emails from people. Olivia, the 911 call release, we can only speculate what was said, but there could have been some racial things being said in the background of that. That's only a conjecture. I don't know that for sure, but there's something that makes someone look bad that they don't want out. And if they don't have anything to hide, put it out. Put it out. Yeah, well, I think that those people were specifically targeted by the defense team because that they already had a wealth of knowledge in that area and were pushing that narrative. And now, as we find out, as we move on further, that they had targeted 5 or 6 different people, the Delphi defense team, including a creator. And I'm sure it's out there. I'm not going to be the first person to say it if it is or not, but they're targeting a creator. That's the Florida thing. So they've had multiple people. One of the neighbors was on the list too. So, you went from kind of the Jonas to Logan to this to that to, so it wasn't him, but it could have been any of these 20 people. They have to narrow down and they have to show evidence. If you watch the video that I did on a porch the other day, and I shared a link for the prosecutors, watch that, because they have to have information to put on a third-party defense like someone else did it, if that makes sense. Most are, CJK. Well, I'm surprised you have more there. You have one there. Pennsylvania, most are volunteer. There's more fire departments, I shit you not, in Allegheny County than there is the state of California. We have like 220 fire departments in a county. So it's overkill beyond belief, but nobody kind of wants to merge and give up their little fiefdom, unfortunately. What's up, Melissa? There's paid departments that could be merged too. Pittsburgh ate up a municipality a few years ago. Arson and fire are incredibly difficult and complex. Well, thank you. Yeah, and the investigators. Now remember, I tell you this, I've taken 16 hours of arson investigation. That was it. and then my on-the-job experience, which is I'm starting year 23. Frosty, wherever you are, I missed your comment on the ship. Yeah, it would be awfully interesting if he was coerced in front of all those people. Frosty talking about all the confessions, and look, they are confessions. Someone said, "Oh, they're not confessions." Well, they 100% are confessions. Whether they're real confessions or made up confessions is the question, but just they are confessions. Yeah, Livy, if we're talking about the 911 call, yes. I just, if it's one of them things where somebody screwed up, you know what I mean, and make it look bad or something like that, we might look bad. That's bullshit. You got to own that shit. You got to come out. And I said the same thing in Delphi. And I hope that we have adjudication in the case. Doug Carter is a man of his word and says, listen, this is what we did first. I know what he's going to say. I did it. It was on me. You know what I mean? I just said that today. Whenever people got pissed at me, I was like, wait, I'm the union president. So be mad at me, right? Don't be mad at these guys that are filing a grievance. And maybe being a little jack-offy, but put it on me. You know, I'm okay with that. So I hope we do hear. Yeah, initially, you know, whatever the case may be. Yeah, Skinner reached out and said, hey, this is a good guy. You know, there was no ill intent, but blah, 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 blah. And we kind of understand it. And it doesn't mean it's excused. Hey, clever alt name, what is up? So anybody have any other thoughts? You look at the type of the crime, and again, everything, a lot of what there's everything. And I'm not an expert. I've been studying this stuff for 3 years. Books, movies, shows, interviews, anything I get my hands on, Don Douglas, Jim Clemente, BSU to BAU, Robert Ressler, anything like that. Dr. Burgess, I like Dr. Bricado now. Also, you reverse engineer from the crime back. What kind of person does this? Well, they know because they've interviewed a bunch and they find people that have done things like this. And what motivates you? Why do you do it? What do you get from it? And it's just the victimology is different, right? And do the girls know each other or not? To say hi, I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. Did they cross paths on a softball field or somewhere like that? I don't know that for sure. But if they did, they weren't close and they were not tight. So the victimology of that, there is no victimology, right? The MO is absolutely different. There's signature at one, multiple apparently signatures at one. There's staging at one. And we don't know of any of that at the other thing. And again, the other thing is this one crime didn't happen in 1985 and one crime happened in 2010, where these people or this person had an opportunity to grow as a killer and kind of fine tune what he's doing. These were months apart, November to February. So in order for a killer to make that big of a change and that big of an arc, I can't think of any known killers, whether they are series people or one-offs, that went from attempting to kill people by burning and then, you know, doing such an up-close and personal thing as using a knife. I can't think of any time that's happened. But I don't know every single case, but I look at a ton of them, probably more than I should, and just try to, you know, if I can, link it to something else, link it to something I'm looking at now, or I'm looking for something specific and something I'm looking at now, like the Kimmy Krim case, and then I go back and I look for people that have done this. And it doesn't have to be the same state or time, but then you kind of understand. I hope that makes sense, and I don't just sound like a BAU geek over here. But couple minutes left here. I'm going to get you guys out of here, ready for 8 to check out Frank. I'm going to make some homemade popcorn, which I make awesome homemade popcorn. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to watch Frank, and I'm going to check the Steelers out when they draft. I'm sure Frosty from the ship's going to know what the Colts are doing. I don't know if the Colts have first-round picks or not. 63 clocks, you liked it too. LA's just genuine, right? You know that he's not going to feed you no shit. And that was just like the perfect look, like, man, y'all are crazy. Yeah, he does. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that RA doesn't give a fuck, or that, well, RA probably doesn't either, but I know that LA doesn't. You know, you have channels that like talk about the case, and you have channels that like talk about other channels, and it's a free country. So you do what you want to do. Oh yeah. Well, they had a really bad fire department in a supermarket. We actually studied that. That was one of the things that we studied when I was in fire school, and guys got lost in there. But when there is a fire, when you got to put your gear on to cut someone out of a car, that heat down there has got to be. I know it's not humid, but holy shit, I've been there before. There you go. That's cool, Frosty. Put a couple bets in. Miranda, she's okay with JJ too. They say that the New England wants him. I don't know. The kid's a winner. Kid's a winner. Yeah, I would definitely go to a draft party, Frosty. 1,000,000%. Good luck there with all your other endeavors that you're attempting there. Checking on Frosty. Do I think a break is coming in Flora? I don't know of anything imminent coming, but the word that I got was it's definitely being worked, and there's communications going on, and with law enforcement in the family, and I think there's good people on it. I really do. I truly, truly do. I think that there's people on it that are working it, and the angle's interesting, but it doesn't matter, whatever the angle is. But we can help. We could share videos, share old floor videos I did. Go to other people that you like that do floor videos, share them, talk them up in your chats and your Discords or whatever, and say, hey, you guys, you need to go check this out. Mention to them that I'll talk about being critical. I'm still critical. You move 4 bodies, and it doesn't matter their children. It doesn't matter what they are. Let's look at this from the criminality aspect, not the show, Teresa, but the actual thing. And then I'm going to get out of here. They moved 4 bodies to the fire station floor. They did CPR on 2 of the girls. They should go to the hospital till a doctor says stop. That's just how it should be. Or unless there's like a doctor or a medical command person on site that says it's clearly no good. In our state, you're looking at skeletal or decapitation. That's when they stop. Neither of these things happen. They put them in bags and put them on a floor of the fire station and said a prayer over them. So they ruined that evidence. That'll never be explained to me. It can never be explained to me. I'm sorry. So I get fired up about Flora, and you should too. And I'm proud to get fired up. And one day I hope to meet Galen or talk to her and Aunt Jackie and just, tell them that we're here. We're not going to go away. So I hope you understand that my point, whether you agree or disagree with me. If you're watching replay, leave a comment, please. We could discuss. My chat is awesome. I thank all you for coming in so much. 63 clocks coming through. Thank you, 63 clocks. I highly appreciate it, as always. You guys are great. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your comments. Kevlar148gmail.com. If you have any questions or you want me to send you the info I got, I'll send it to you. I don't keep anything in. More eyes, the better. So encourage you to go check Frank out and your favorite creators tonight. Like on the way out. Share if you think I did a good job. And talk Flora up. And Delphi is Delphi. So every day something's going to happen. But keep Flora in your hearts and minds too, if you would. I think we're going to get there. We're going to get there. So I'm going to say tentacles. I got water tonight. I'm going to say tentacles. And we're going to get out of here and go check out Frank, check out the NFL draft. Whatever you're watching tonight, make sure you support your favorite creators. Coach Kev, out.